Raw Takes and Company. We are back. Hope you're having a fantastic day today on this Friday edition of the show. Jake off today. Matthias Andahar back in action, back with us. Matthias, what is up, man? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a bit too long for my liking, but good as new. Good to be back, and yeah, great to hopefully run another great episode of this pod.
And we have Jake's picks with us today. This is the NBA prediction special. So we are going to get to all our NBA predictions here in just a little bit. But we do have some other sports news to get to while we prepare for all that because we are doing another special of who's picking dinner and who's paying for it. We'll explain all that in a little bit, though. We're going to get to these quick topics, though, before we get to that. We're going to go 1 minute each on each of these, except for the play-in reflection for the NBA. We're going to start things off in the golf world, though. Rory McIlroy winning his second Masters in a row over the weekend. Did a terrific job like he did last year. Think about this, Matthias. The New York Jets didn't record an interception the entire 2025 season. And that entire span, it's in between two Rory McIlroy Masters championships. What
I
do
was
you
going
think?
to say you're really going to like this New York Jets stat, aren't you? You're just going to hold on to that until they can record one.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
I'm not a
congrats to
big
Rory
golf guy, but
McIlroy.
congrats to Rory.
Yeah, I could only imagine how hard it is winning two, let alone one. So yeah, just did a phenomenal job with that. That's all I got to say.
Rory McIlroy winning his second Masters in a row. Congrats to Rory McIlroy on that. And now we are going to move on to baseball. Really quickly on the Cleveland Guardians, they dropped one to St. Louis in concerning fashion on Tuesday. They dropped the series to the Cardinals. Kind of a disaster. But Parker Messick rebounded today as we're recording this, yesterday, if you're watching the video, of course. So on Friday, that is. So to me, yeah, I mean, Cade Smith is starting to become a liability as a closer. It's concerning for me. And I think if you're the Guardians, you need to consider putting Eric Sabrowski as the closer until Hunter Gaddis maybe settles down, or maybe Hunter Gaddis. But the Guardians have a closing problem. Matthias, I want to give you some time on that. But great job to Parker Messick, almost pulling off a no-hitter today. Guardians win it 4-2 over Baltimore.
Yeah, I think I'm not super concerned because there's 162 games, and I'm just more so looking at how, despite the really hot start that they got, now they're 5-5 in their last 10. So I'm really curious to see if they're going to go on an upswing or they're going to fall down first before they go on an upswing, because every team goes through one.
And that's baseball in a 162 game season. And once again, Parker Messick, phenomenal job all season long. He looks like the ace right now. It certainly isn't Tanner Bybee. Could be Gavin Williams too, but Parker Messick has been pitching out of his mind. So congrats to Parker Messick. Just stinks he couldn't close the no-hitter out. It's been a while since Cleveland's had one of those. All right, moving on just to the remainder of baseball really quickly because this is an NBA show this week. But getting on to baseball, the Rays, Athletics, and Twins are currently leading Major League Baseball. I should say Jake's Athletics. That's over in the American League, of course. And then you look at the National League. Give the Guardians credit here. They're the only team to beat the Dodgers in a series this year. The Guardians, and they're 11-9 right now still. So the Reds are doing really well over there too, 11-8. And the Braves, I think we all kind of underestimated the Braves coming back with their lineup this year. What do you make of the landscape of Major League Baseball this early in the season?
This early, I'm kind of most excited about right now Pittsburgh being first in the Central League,
They're actually
or
two.
in the
The
Central
Reds are. They're
Division.
tied. Yeah.
Yeah, being tied in the Central Division. I'm kind of not shocked, but disappointing at the AL Central. This should be a Guardians won by, like we said in our show, it should be a Guardians won by a mile, but everything always happens where it's not the Guardians. But of all teams, I didn't expect it to be the Twins.
Guardians have won the Central 3 of the last 4 years, and I did predict the Twins will have the worst record in baseball. Probably not going to be that now, but I still don't believe in the Twins long term. We'll see. We'll see. It's probably not going to last. Same thing with the Rays. I mean, I'll say this: all the teams I picked to be at the bottom of the divisions currently are leading the divisions in the American League. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, so we'll see. But you never know. It's a 162 game season for a reason. Uh, I think this upcoming firing is the most deserved in pro sports, or I don't even want to say firing. I want to say he might have stepped down. I've seen conflicting reports he was fired, maybe stepped down. You might have more insight on this, Matthias, but Doc Rivers no longer the Milwaukee Bucks head coach after they missed the playoffs at 32 and 50. Doc Rivers had to go. I'm sorry, he didn't deserve this job in the first place. It made no sense to fire Adrian Griffin a few years back. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks are regretting that decision since then. Because ever since they fired Adrian Griffin, things have only gotten worse and even worse. And if I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo, I don't want to be part of the Milwaukee Bucks organization right now. Doc Rivers, great personality. Love to see him go into media, but coaching right now, just not for him.
Yeah, like when the best part of your career was in 2008 and you haven't shown anything since. Yeah, it really calls for terms for being fired, but just like the other one in the different sport, just so happened he decided to be let go. I mean, he let himself go instead of actually being fired. Um, yeah, both scenarios just kind of like if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I was referring to Mike Tomlin, but yeah, both coaches had a great tenure somewhere. Um, Mike Tomlin didn't have a tenure anywhere else, but Doc Rivers not as much of a good tenure anywhere else except for maybe the Clippers. Um, but yeah, just like you said, he deserved to be fired as much as I probably think that Mike Tomlin should have stepped down. Both things happened. So, yeah, we move on from here.
And both of them last won a championship during the 2008 seasons. All right, moving on
Oh,
to,
well,
I'm sorry.
Tomlin won in 2010, I believe.
I think it was, no, it was 2009 because it was the 2008 season, but it was technically in 2009 because it was
Oh,
February.
yeah.
Yeah,
Semantics.
yeah. It's all a numbers game, I guess the best way to put it. This one, I saw conflicting reports on this. Jason Kidd might be stepping down from Dallas. He's staying. I saw conflicting reports change over the last couple days. Do you have any insight on this, Matthias? Because I don't want to misinform our viewers. With
I am looking up the ESPN app right now. So,
I think he's staying with Dallas, from what I can gather, with the Mavericks. But I just wanted to. I didn't like have it officially verified. I mean, I saw sources say that he was stepping down, and then I saw that he's planning on staying. So as of right now, it looks like he's staying with the Dallas Mavericks. They just got Cooper Flag. I think it's fine to keep him another season. I mean, what do you think, Matthias?
yeah, I think
Stays or goes?
from what I've seen, there hasn't been any
Mhm.
reports. It's just been mostly like he got. Yeah, no, I haven't really seen anything about his status. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
it actually says 6 months ago he signed a multi-year contract extension. But
Okay.
yeah, other than that, like he's run the Mavericks the best he could right now, especially with their stars being injured. Cooper Flag has blossomed really quickly, and he looks like a threat to the league very soon. But yeah, like I do believe that Jason Kidd did have a part to play in that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think he should step down. I feel like he should have like one more year with Cooper Flag and then give him to someone in the house that knows how to work with the kid. Um, yeah, that's all I got.
And I will say this: I'm reading the report right now. It's from Sports Illustrated. Mavericks reportedly opening to letting Jason Kidd walk under one condition. I saw this article yesterday or today. I think it was yesterday, meaning April 15th, and that's when it came out. I think that article is what conflicted me. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to. I just saw it and I thought it might be big news for the NBA, but I wasn't sure. And as I said, I don't want to misinform our viewers. I personally think Jason Kidd staying in Dallas would be totally fine. And I'm sure from
Yep.
everything you said, you agree with me 100% on that too. So we'll move on now
Yeah.
to the play-in games really quickly, and then we'll get to our playoff predictions and the series, the first round series, what we're all here for. But what did you make of these two play-in games we've seen so far, and what are your predictions for the next two? And just so you know, the play-in games we're not doing predictions for in terms of the NBA pool we're doing on our podcast. I just want to emphasize that this is just for the heck of it, so you guys have it. For me, I will say for the two games we've seen, I was kind of stunned the Clippers lost the way they did because
I
I don't think
mean,
Golden State's a good team at all. But Golden State has always arrived in the moments, which is why they could be a dangerous team in the playoffs. But they're going to have to play Oklahoma City if they even get out of the Phoenix game. So, and the Darius Garland situation in that game, it sounded like he thought he was beat up a little bit. I don't know. And then obviously Charlotte winning that game. Charlotte's been the hottest team in the NBA to end the season. I expect that they're going to be the team that gets the eighth seed. So what do you make of those two games, Matthias? And who do you think your predictions are for getting into the playoffs?
Um, yeah, first I just wanted to mention that Heat Hornets game, just to give it the love that it deserves. If you guys have not watched that game, please watch it. That was a find the highlights, find something. That was an amazing game. Went into overtime, even more great hoops. And then Trailblazers versus Suns. That was another great game. Congrats to the Trailblazers for locking up the 7th seed after a season of somebody who was supposed to be the star but was injured in Scoot Henderson, but still making it. So I'm excited about them. I also 100% agree. I was watching a bit of the Clippers-Warriors game. The Clippers were up by 11. And I was like, I'm just going to turn it off. Congrats to Darius Garland. And then they lost because Stephen Curry remembered he's one of the top 10 greatest players of all time. And then Magic 76ers, it's just really interesting watching the Magic fall more and more throughout this entire season. I know you said we weren't going to do predictions, but I kind of want to. Of these two games, I have the Warriors winning for the 8th seed because it's just Steph Curry, man. When the pressure's on, he knows how to turn it up. And that for the Hornets versus Magic, to the point that you made, Charlotte's playing hot, and they're playing like my biggest critique with Charlotte was that they would sometimes play like they didn't have a coach. Like they would just play like they were a bunch of kids playing and one or street ball. Like, not saying that it's a bad thing. Sometimes it works, but it's just like you need to step it up. And it looks like they finally stepped it up. They've got that chemistry together, and it feels like they're going to make some noise. So, yeah, I have Hornets over Magic.
I agree with you. I am going to take the Orlando Magic. No, I'm going to take the Charlotte Hornets. I'm sorry, not the Orlando Magic. Pardon me. I'm taking the Charlotte Hornets over the Orlando Magic. I really think Jamal Mosley's on the hot seat, and I think the Orlando Magic players want him to be on the hot seat. I think Orlando Magic fans want him on the hot seat. I think he might be fired if the Magic don't make the playoffs. And the Magic had high expectations of being a top 4 seed this year based on their roster construction, and was certainly far from the case. And I think Boston kind of surprised everybody too. Yeah. Still, the Magic had high expectations. It didn't happen. I think there's going to be a coaching change there. So I think the Hornets are going to plow through because they've just been the hottest team in the NBA really over the last few weeks. And then for me, I'm going to give Golden State the win too as a 10 Cinderella to make it and get stomped by Oklahoma City. But Phoenix does fight in a lot of games, but Phoenix is still, they've been a mess ever since they moved on from Monty Williams. I mean, not a mess. They've made the playoffs, but they're not doing anything. I think their prime was 2021, and that was their chance, and maybe 2022, and they didn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, the Suns, they're the type of team, like, they will punch you in the mouth, but, like, they don't have the star player to, like, well, they do have Devin Booker. No offense to Devin Booker. He's been playing great. But, like, Devin Booker needs help. That's not Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
And it's
Jalen Green's not really enough either.
Yeah, Jalen Green, like, I don't even know how he's been playing recently, but it's yeah, right now Jalen Green is only averaging, he's averaging 17. Like, it's all right, not really what they thought they would trade for, but the Suns, I feel like they're constructed for something later. Like, let Jalen Green get used to the system, and then they could make some noise. But I don't know. Knowing Jalen Green, he's going to go off for 40 tomorrow. So,
all right, you're ready to see the bracket?
Yep.
There it is. So, welcome to the newest edition of Who's Picking and Who's Paying. So we have the entire bracket set up here. East first round, West first round, the semis, the Eastern Conference Finals, the Western Conference Finals, and the NBA Finals. Jake is off tonight, but he did send us his picks, so we'll get to those in a minute. We're going to go through only the first round of the playoffs and our predictions there, and we're going to talk about each series. And we're going to explain how this is going to work for the long term, because who's picking dinner, we're not going to know till June, and who's paying, we're not going to know till June, obviously. So here's the deal. We are going to each give our pick out of who wins the series and how many games it goes. If you pick the series correctly, but not how many games it goes. So if you say Oklahoma City over Golden State in 4, but it's a 5-game series with an Oklahoma City victory, then you are going to get 2 points. So that is a 2-point situation, like basketball. You get 2 points, 3 points, and a free throw. So 2 points if you get the series correct, but it doesn't go exactly the amount of games you picked correctly. That's 2 points because you got the series right. You're going to get 3 points if you get the series right and the games it takes correct. So if you pick Oklahoma City in 4, OKC sweeps Golden State or Phoenix, then you're golden. You are golden. That is 3 points right then and there. But if you pick, let's just say an upset happens for an 8 seed. So let's say Phoenix or Golden State upset Oklahoma City in 5 games.
Man, what a story.
That would be a story. But you picked Oklahoma City in 5, then let's say that's the case. You might have gotten the series wrong, but it went 5 games, so you're going to get a point off it. I guess a better example, let's say LA Lakers and Houston. If the Lakers and Rockets went 7 games, but you picked the Rockets to win the series and not the Lakers, and the Lakers win the series, then you're going to get 1 point because you at least picked it to go 7. And then 0 points, obviously, if you don't pick the series correct or the series amount of games correct. So it's either going to go 4, 5, 6, or 7 games. So the objective is to get the series and the amount of games correct to collect as many points as you can. Obviously, whoever has the most points by the last game of the NBA season is the winner, and we're going to deal with tiebreaker rules once we get closer to the NBA Finals. I think we might just do maybe like a draft lottery situation. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out when we get to it. We'll discuss it with Jake, but Jake did send us his picks. So let's get right to it here. All right. Not Jake. Sorry. Jake's off tonight. Matthias is with me, though. All right, Matthias, you ready to go?
Yep.
All right. So let's start off with Jake's picks just because he's not here today. We're going to start things off in the Eastern Conference. We're only doing round 1, and as we get new series, we'll do those on those editions of Raw Takes. We're going to talk about each series as well here. So Detroit will face either the Orlando Magic or the Charlotte Hornets. Now, Matthias and I both believe it will be the Charlotte Hornets, but we'll still discuss either or scenario. Either way, because it's an 8 seed, we're going to play it safe, assuming that Detroit probably has the advantage here. I'm sure Matthias agrees. Jake says Detroit in 5. So that's his prediction. Matthias, we'll go to you next. What do you think?
Yep, I also had Detroit in 5. I think if Charlotte goes in, they are one of the hottest. I mean, they're the hottest team in the league. They're going to steal a game the same way how Detroit made New York sweat the year before. But yeah, if Orlando gets in, I would be less likely that it's going to be in 5. But Paolo should finally show up. Desmond Bane, yeah, they do have the stuff there. It just hasn't been clicking this season. So yeah, I have them in 5.
All right, I'm going to also go Detroit in 5. Although the Hornets play offense, which is why I have to give them a game if the Hornets end up getting there. But even if Orlando's there, maybe Orlando steals a game. I don't know that though, and I'm confident that the Charlotte Hornets are going to end up making it. But still, if it's Orlando, I still think Orlando could find a way to steal a game. The Pistons don't play offensive very well unless Cade Cunningham's in the lineup. So to me, they're a scary defensive team, hands down. I think the best defensive team in basketball this year. They're definitely going to win a playoff series. I don't know if they're going to win 2 playoff series, but I certainly think they're going to win the first round, regardless of if it's Charlotte or Orlando. But neither the Hornets or the Magic are built to beat the Detroit Pistons. What do you think? You agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with your analysis too. So we'll move on now. Let's go to the 2 seed next before we go to Cleveland and Toronto, because that series might be interesting. And plus, we're hometown Cleveland Cavs fans as well. So let's go to the Celtics and the Sixers. Interesting series here. We've seen Boston and Philadelphia play each other a lot of times. We got a clean sweep prediction from Jake. He's going Boston in 4. So, what do you think, Matthias?
I have. Sorry, I'm thinking. I have Boston in 5
Boston and
because right now, well, Embiid's out, but the bigger thing right now is that Jaylen Brown is game time decision for game 1. Um, so is Cade, and Derek White is also game time decision, and Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Gonzalez, like those are some pieces that they usually have, that have done really well this season that they might not even have. So I think that Boston's going to lose one, and then they're going to remember that Philly chanted that we want Boston, and then they're going to get gentlemen swept.
I think it's a gentleman's sweep. Okay, I'm gonna pick a clean sweep here. So we do have some difference in opinion. Uh, Joel Embiid hasn't been healthy, which is part of the issue with the 76ers. And the 76ers, to me, they're just not really well constructed. I don't think they're a well constructed team for the playoffs. I think you can win a lot of regular season games with the Philadelphia 76ers. I do not think they're a team by any stretch that's going to go deep in the playoffs, especially based on how Boston's playing. Now, I don't think Boston's a shoe-in to win the East, and I'll explain that in a little bit once we get to the next series in particular. But to me, I still think they're going to easily handle the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't even see a gentleman's sweep. I just see a pure sweep. So I'm going to take the Celtics in 4. All right, New York and Atlanta. All right, so Jake's prediction is the New York Knicks in 5. Matthias, what do you have?
I have the Knicks in 4.
Knicks in 4. Why so?
Um, it's just this is as much as I love Jalen Johnson coming out of nowhere. It's just the Hawks are kind of the Jalen Johnson show. Not saying that nobody else on the Hawks have stepped up. They have. They're a really good, well-rounded team. Like there's a reason why they kept up with Toronto until the end. But New York, they have something to prove this year, and I think they're going to show it for this first round. With Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Cat really needs to prove himself this series because there shouldn't be a contest of who's the best big man in this series. So yeah, I have Knicks in 4.
I'm going to take the Knicks in 6. I think you look at the Atlanta Hawks the second half of the season after they traded Trae Young. It has been the Jalen Johnson show, but he's been terrific. And even though I think the Knicks are by far the better basketball team, the Atlanta Hawks just got so hot at the right time. I think they're young and scrappy, and I could see them picking off 2 games in this series. I think they defend their home floor in the first 2, and New York goes down to Atlanta to win the series. So, although I do think the Knicks going 6 games still have a great opportunity to take down the Boston Celtics, and I do want to point this out. It seems like there's this consensus in the national media that the Boston Celtics are the shoe-in to come out of the East. I really think the New York Knicks, I mean, they beat them last year with a healthy Jason Tatum. I could certainly see them doing that again. I know it's not Tom Thibodeau this time around, it's Mike Brown, but I could see it happening again. And you're right about Karl Anthony Towns. He does have to prove himself. So I do want to emphasize that about the Knicks. I mean, even the Cavs, I think, have a slight chance maybe against the Celtics. I don't think the Cavs, but we'll get to that if that even happens. But we are going to move on to the Cavs and Raptors right now. But I do want to say, I don't think the Celtics are just a shoe-in. I definitely think the Knicks have potential to get to the finals this year. Matthias, we're going now to Cleveland and Toronto, the last series in the Eastern Conference. All right, Jake has the Cavs in 6 over the Raptors. And the Raptors were 3-0 against the Cavs in the regular season, but the Cavs did not have their best lineups in those games if you look at them closely. What do you make of this series, Matthias?
Jake stole my answer. Think I'm also going to go Cavs in 6 because they're got Toronto's the same way that you said for Atlanta, the same way I would say for Toronto. They're young, they're scrappy. I feel like that they're going to figure out a game somehow. And like the second one is going to be from like a James Harden down game or a Donovan Mitchell down game that we know is going to happen. And I think this series, along with the rest of the playoffs, is really going to rely on Jalen Tyson for the Cavs, because Jalen Tyson is going to be the perimeter defender the same way Isaac Okoro was a couple years ago. And it's going to be, can he do, unfortunately, what Isaac Okoro couldn't? Like, can he lock down the other team's best star and win games? Like, that's just, there's no, to me, that's just the best way to cut it. So yeah, I do think it's going to be a dogfight. I think Brandon Ingram and Emmanuel Quickly, they're both going to have a game where they just pop off. And that's how they even get two. But yeah, I think it's going to be a harder fought series than what it should be.
I'm taking the Cavs in 5. And the reason I'm taking the Cavs in 5 is I do agree with you. I think the Raptors are going to find a way to win a game. I think they're going to do so at home because they are young and scrappy. And you made a great point there about Brandon Ingram. But the reason I think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep is because the Cavs didn't show their best stuff against the Raptors 3 times in the regular season. I don't think the Raptors have any kind of advantage over the Cavs this time around. The Cavs have kind of owned the Raptors in recent playoff series history, dating back to 2018, 2017, and 2016, even though in 2016 the Cavs did win it all. That was still a 6-game series. To me, the Cavs in 5, I think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I think if the Cavs would have had Atlanta, it also would have been a 5-game series, to be honest with you. There's just too much offensive firepower on the Cavs. Now, they got to play defense. And I think the Cavs' defensive lacking and struggles this year is going to be the reason they lose that one game in Toronto. But overall, I'm going to say the Cavs win this series in 5 games. They could lose game 3 or game 4. I don't think the Raptors are getting swept, but I don't think it's going 6 games. So I think the Cavs are going to be just fine in a 5-game series. And that's our Eastern Conference predictions. Remember, if you get the series right, you get 2 points. If you get the series right and the amount of games it goes, you get 3 points. If you get the series wrong, but you pick the correct amount of games it takes, that's 1 point. And if you don't pick anything right, you don't get any points. So we'll see what that turns out to be. So we have our predictions there. Some difference in opinion. The only real difference in opinion is the amount of games, not necessarily who wins what series. And that you can see obviously in the New York Atlanta series. So those are our picks there. As we move on to the Western Conference now, we'll start things off with the 1 seed and the 8 seed matchup again. Oklahoma City playing Phoenix or Golden State. Jake predicts a clean sweep no matter who it is. So OKC in 4. Matthias?
I also have OKC in 4. For Phoenix, I don't think that they have. I don't think Devin Booker is going to be able to get past that team by himself. The person that would be able to steal a game by himself would be Stephen Curry, but just him recovering from the injury and him already having to do heroics this early is not a good sign, especially with a defense like Oklahoma City, which has been historic this season, and them solely focusing on Steph Curry.
For the respect of Steph Curry, I think I have to go OKC in 5 because I do think Golden State's going to end up beating Phoenix. But even then, Phoenix, as you mentioned earlier, can get in dogfights. So because of that, I think out of respect for both teams, I'm going to go OKC in 5. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a clean sweep, though, but I do want to play it safer than sorry. Either way, Oklahoma City's winning this series. But I think for respect of Steph Curry, you get a game probably out of the Golden State Warriors. If you're Oklahoma City, you lose one of those games. Pardon me. So to me, I have to go OKC in 5 just to play it safe. If it is Golden State, if it's Phoenix, it might be a clean sweep. But even then, I think Phoenix, as you mentioned, can get into dogfights and might have a shot to win at least a game. So I'll take OKC in 5. But overall, they're absolutely going to overmatch whoever they play. They're too deep. They're too good. And they're already in the draft lottery too, while they might win another back-to-back title. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Lakers and Rockets. Let's see here. Oklahoma City in 4 for, okay, that was the last series. Pardon me. Houston in 6 is Jake's prediction. Houston in 6 games. This, I think, is one of the best matchups we have for the playoffs. What do you think, Matthias?
I am going to say I'm going to say Houston in 7.
Houston in 7.
Because Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves are going to be out until May 1st. So I believe they're going to miss. Wait, hang on. I think they're going to miss 2 games if it's May 1st. Yeah, put it for 6.
You're going to go 6?
Yeah, because if both of these teams are healthy, I would say Lakers in 7. Luka Doncic is just that guy when it becomes the playoffs. I love watching him, especially if LeBron wants to have one last run in him. This has to be the time to do it. But Austin Reeves is also injured, and like this is the series. This is Kevin Durant's revenge series. But on top of that, this is going to be Alperen Şengün's time to shine, because there should not be a single center that should be able to guard him that's on the Lakers.
I'm going to take the Rockets in 7. I think you're absolutely right about your analysis, but for the respect of Luka Doncic and how well he played at the end of this regular season, I'm sorry. I have to take the Lakers forcing a game 7 and making this a 7-game series. I think the Rockets go to game 7 in LA and win it on the road. I just think they are the better team and they have the better matchup. And I think this is the year for the Houston Rockets to advance. And I think they might get further than people think, but we will explain that as the playoffs continue. Obviously, we don't know that. We're just doing round 1 for right now. This is not overall for the playoff predictions. We're just doing round 1. And as each series goes on, we're going to predict based on that. All right, we're going to move on to San Antonio and Portland. All right, Jake's predicting the Spurs win this series in 5 games. What do you think, Matthias?
Bring out your brooms. This is going to be a sweep.
I think they sweep Portland.
Yep. Shout out to Denny Avila. I believe that he should be in most improved player conversations if he's not winning it, because he should be winning it. Just the way that he's become a star on this team, even though it's supposed to be Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson went down. Denny stepped up, especially after being traded from Washington. Yeah, this kid's nice. Just give him a cut. If the Portland Trailblazers find a good way to build their team overall, including Denny, I think they're going to be a really good team. But yeah, Denny's flown under the radar this whole season. I think it's time he has his flowers. It's just unfortunately he's going against an alien.
Well, I'll say this. Portland's going to be a lot better when Damian Lillard gets back next year. I think that could be a top 5 seed potentially with a healthy Damian Lillard, even at Damian Lillard's age. So I like Portland a lot. I think they've had a tremendous season. But Matthias, I 100% agree with you. They're not stopping Wembanyama. They're not stopping Stephon Castle. They're not stopping the San Antonio Spurs team. San Antonio Spurs won their first playoff series, I think, since 2017, if I recall correctly. I think it's been since 2017. First playoff series win in 9 years. I think the Spurs get it, and I think they do it in a sweep. I do not see Portland having an answer for Wembanyama, let alone Stephon Castle. The Spurs are just a way better basketball team, and they're going to the semis. However, I'm not so sure I have high hopes on the Spurs making it deep. And we'll explain that as the playoffs continue. Well, at least I'll explain that because that's my perspective. You and Jake might think differently. So as we move on to our final series prediction here for this episode, Denver and Minnesota. And we got a Nuggets in 6 prediction from Jake. Denver in 6. What do you think, Matthias?
All I'm going to say before I say my prediction, while I'm trying to figure it out, is that I don't care what's going on. I don't care who's doing what. Turn on your TVs for this one. I don't care what other round is going on. I don't care if it's the Masters. I don't even care if it's a Super Bowl. These 7 games are going to be the craziest, not the scrappiest, but the craziest, the most high-powered scoring playoff games that you're going to see probably in the whole playoffs. Because these 2 teams, I said it all the way in Christmas, that they were going to play each other because they always find a way to play against each other in the playoffs. And lo and behold, here we are. And that game was a classic. And yeah, all they know is how to put up bangers. With that being said, the regular season, the Nuggets are leading 3-1, including that win in the Christmas game in a 142-138 overtime slugfest. But with Jokic suffering an injury after that, I think no matter what, it's going to go 7. I think it's going to be Minnesota in 7.
You're going Minnesota in 7. That's the first difference in a series that we've had yet in the prediction so far. We all have the series winners the same, except for now. All right, here's mine. I'm taking Denver in 7. I agree with you 100% on everything you said. Must-see TV, best series of the first round, essentially an NBA rivalry at this point in the Western Conference. The reason I'm taking Denver is 2 words, Nikola Jokic. Bottom line, I just think he's better than Anthony Edwards. And I love Anthony Edwards. I'm a huge fan of Ant-Man. I want to emphasize that. Love him, and I will have no problem if Minnesota wins this series. I'm sorry. It's Nikola Jokic going for revenge on the last time they faced Minnesota in the playoffs. And that ended up going 7 games. I think this will go 7 games. I just think Jokic and Jamal Murray are going to take it, and they're going to advance to the semis. I just think they're the better basketball team this time around, and I think it's going to be a great series. And I actually think in this series, every single home team will win it. And that's why I have Denver, because Denver has home court advantage. I think the home team will win each game. I don't think we're going to see any games on the road stolen in this series, I think, but you never know. Either way, even if there is some games stolen, I still think this is a 7-game great series between these two teams that have essentially become rivals over the last few years. The Denver Nuggets, I think overall, though, are just the better team this year, and that's why I have them winning the series.
Yeah, so, I'm like, that's the issue. I think this is one of the best constructed Denver teams around Nikola Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
But Anthony Edwards can just like sneeze out 2 wins by himself. It's so convoluted. It's so I don't know.
Well, that's our series predictions right here, as you see on the screen. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments, and we'll give you a shout out on the next edition of Raw Takes & Co. We want to hear your picks, and we'd love to get them on our show here. In fact, our buddy, I Love DK Metcalf, formally, and by the way, there's the score and the points again. That's the rules. Whoever gets the most points is picking dinner. Whoever gets the least amount of points is paying for it, and the person in the middle enjoys it all. And it might be Bob Evans again if Jake wins.
Fair enough.
But really quickly, we got to get to our buddy, I Love DK Metcalf, formerly now I Rally Ohio. He's also been a guest star on this podcast before. Talk about UFL Week 3 action. Orlando beat Louisville on a controversial call in OT. St. Louis recorded 3 straight TD in the 4th to beat Birmingham. DC beat Houston by 38, the highest margin of victory in UFL history. And Dallas beat Columbus in a competitive game. I did not watch too much of the UFL this week, but so great stats there. If you follow the UFL, anything there, Matthias?
I do not watch any of the UFL, but yeah, I didn't even know Columbus had a team. So congrats to that.
Thank you for your comment, as always, A. Rowley, Ohio. We appreciate it and your support of Raw Takes & Co. And also check out his podcast, Hidden Heat. Does a great job on that. All right, that's going to be it for today's edition of Raw Takes & Co. For Matthias Andahar, I'm Andrew Hody. Jake Malencic will be back with us next week. And watch NBA basketball. This is the time. Go Cavs, especially. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great week. And as I said, leave your comments of your picks.